Good morning, and welcome to our Flower Communion service. I look forward to answering the questions you may have about this service. What is communion? In Christian churches, communion is a part of the worship service. In the Bible stories of Jesus' life, there is a story about Jesus feeding his followers bread and wine. He says, "Take, eat, take, drink, and become one with me. Do this in memory of me." And so, in Christian churches, communion is done to remember the life of Jesus and to feel connected with him. And the service usually involves each person being given and eating a small piece of bread and being given to sip a sip of grape juice or wine. I think of communion as connected to two words, community and union. Community is a group of many people, and union is connecting together. And so a communion is something we do as a church together to symbolize and to share what connects us together. Where did the flower communion come from? The flower communion was invented by a Unitarian minister named Norbert Čapek. Norbert Čapek was the minister of the Unitarian Church in Prague, Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is located in the middle of Europe. And Čapek was famous for a number of different things, and one of those things was that he was the inventor of the flower communion. Norbert Čapek believed in experimenting with different kinds of worship services. And one day, in a beautiful spring day, he was walking home from church, and all of the flowers that he saw on his walk home made him smile. He thought, "I wish I could have a church service that made me feel as joyful as I feel seeing these flowers." So the next Sunday, he told everyone in his church to bring a flower with them on the following Sunday. He put the flowers together in a vase, said a blessing for them, and then told each person to take a different flower home with them. The first flower communion was in 1923, so this tradition is nearly 100 years old. Why do we celebrate the flower communion? Norbert Čapek's wife, Maya, was also a minister, and during her travels to the United States, she introduced the flower communion to many churches. The celebration took off and was adopted by Unitarian churches all over the United States. They liked its beauty, and it felt good to do. We celebrate the flower communion here at the Community Church of Chapel Hill because it's something that's done in most other Unitarian Universalist congregations. But we celebrate it because it speaks to our understanding of community. We each bring the beauty of ourselves, and we each add a bit of beauty to the common bouquet of our community. And we're each changed, transformed, by sharing part of our life with another, and others sharing their life with us. What do the flowers symbolize? One of the beautiful things about religion is that we get to make our own meaning. But I'd like to share with you a little bit about what the flowers meant to Norbert Čapek. He wrote of the flowers of the flower communion, "May these flowers remind us, even though we are all different in what we know and different in what we can do, may the flowers remind us to be one in desire and affection. May the flowers also remind us of the value of friendship and sharing. May we cherish friendship as one of life's most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to change the world." What is your favorite flower? I've got so many favorite flowers. One of my favorites is that I really like tiger lilies. I don't actually have tiger lilies behind me today, but I have orange roses, and orange is my favorite color. But I've got other flowers that are my favorite as well. So many favorites. And one type of flower that I really like that makes me smile are some of the first flowers to come up in the spring, like crocuses and daffodils. And what I like so much about those early spring flowers is that even in places when there's snow on the ground, that these flowers can rise through the snow and bloom. And I find that beautiful to see this flower has just such passion and spirit that it's going to rise up through the snow and bloom. And so I have a special place in my heart for crocuses and daffodils and other early spring blooming flowers. Was there a flower communion when you were a kid? If so, what do you remember about it? Yes, we had a flower communion at the church where I grew up, and I remember when I was a little child celebrating the flower communion. We always had a flower communion as a service in June, and it was always done at a service at the end of the year, and it was combined with a service for thanking all of the volunteer teachers in the church. And so not only did we all bring a flower, but when we came into the church, there were little potted flowers, marigolds and pansies, covering kind of every surface in the church, the windowsills and tables and everywhere. And the service included all of the teachers coming up to get a little potted flower. And then at the end of the service, we did the flower communion. And we did it differently than we do at this church. At this church, we have everybody come forward to receive their flower, but in the church that I grew up in, the flowers were kept in a basket in the back of the church. And on your way out of church, you could reach into the basket and select a flower to take home with you. And I have great memories of celebrating the flower communion when I was a kid. This year, we aren't doing the flower communion in person. Does the meaning change when we do it virtually? Does it still work? Oh, there are so many things that I miss about not being able to do church in person. I miss seeing the big bouquet of all the different flowers together. I miss handing out the flowers and seeing people smile as they receive them. And most of all, I miss seeing you. I miss seeing all the people in this church. But it's going to be different this year. I will still get to see you. I'll get to see videos of people in the church with their flowers, and I will get to smile at both seeing people's faces and seeing the flowers that they've chosen to pass across the camera. But the flower communion, even though it's not in person, it still works as a ritual. If we think back all the way to when I talked about communion in the Christian churches, I think you could still do communion even if you didn't have bread or grape juice. That the absence of bread or grape juice wouldn't mean that you couldn't remember Jesus. And just like this, the absence of being able to hand a flower to your friend or to your neighbor doesn't mean that we can't have church and that we can't celebrate what we love about each other, the gift that each other are, the gift that we ourselves bring to this community, the gifts we receive from one another. We make church wherever we go. And so right now, even as the building is closed, the church is open. And we make church whenever we give some of ourselves to another person and whenever we share our friendship and our community and our fellowship together. I love you, and I'm with you. Amen, and blessed be.